Okay, since the last video, I did go back to Zbrush and repose a second crocodile, bring him into the scene. Just a little bit more interesting. Same texture maps as the first one, obviously same UVs. Generated a couple of simple lily pads from the pond geometry. If you go to your environment, yeah, it is exactly the same maps. Environments. This is the basic startup environment, just a nice studio lighting setup. But you can actually download free of charge off the internet lots and lots of exterior backgrounds and environments in the HDRI format. I've got quite a collection. I will include some in the project files. But Alaskan forest is nice. And that's actually reflecting into the surface of our pond. If you'd gone to a lot of trouble to match the shape of the pond to the environment, you'd actually have it really interacting well. Now, all the time that Keyshot rests idle, it produces an ever-changing, improving low-res render as a preview. You go to Project, you want to look at point, that's where we want to focus. Keyshot will rotate from that point. In here, you can switch it to just a white background if you wanted to composite it into a different background. You can also pick a backplate image. I've got some loaded up in Keyshot already. Now, this dial is important. This just rotates the HDRI map around the scene so that you can catch the light and the highlights. Hold the middle mouse just to reposition your OBJs. Reposition them as a complete group is nice. I sometimes turn this back to color while I'm rotating just so that I can better see what I'm doing. But I'll just throw in some different backgrounds just so you can see what a dramatic effect it can be. There are some incredible ones on the Keyshot website. Again, free of charge. That's quite bright. We can adjust the brightness in the project palette. This is actually a very nice interior daylight lighting setup. And I'm quite obsessive about these. I regularly collect as many free of charge ones as I can. They're all out there and they're all available. Topanga Forest. This is quite moody. Again, just rotate the HDRI map so you find something you like. Maybe change the water level. It's not interacting perfectly with the background, but just for a fun image, let's see what we can do. All the reflections and refractions on the water are accurate. And as I say, the longer you leave a static image, the better the preview render will be on screen. Okay, let's try rendering out something like that. Tweak it a little bit more interest. It's better how we had it. Just to make sure we just catch little glimpses of wet look material on the crocodiles. Almost too many to choose from. This is an urban street. It's got a really surreal lighting effect. It's very nice there. I think for the sake of our render, we'll go back to one of our nature HDRIs. Let's close that down so you can see this. Camera. Change the perspective of the camera. There's a depth of field there as well, but we'll do that in a later one. When you're happy with what you've got and you fancy a render of that, let's go to the render palette. Instantly, you've got different formats, presets. It's ever so useful. Change that size to 15. Quality, samples, ray bounces, important when you're doing water or clear items. Shadow quality, not really too relevant at the moment, but let's just change the resolution so we get a quicker render. I will actually pause, but it's fascinating to watch Keyshot do this in front of your eyes. The render speed is dependent on some of the materials. If you use some of the translucent materials, it does actually take quite a lot longer to render. The lag is when it's hitting the OBJ. You'll see as soon as it hits the background image, which it will render as part of the image, it's quite quick. I will be intermittently pausing so you can see different stages of this. But the export values are wonderful. On the render settings, you can export TIFFs, bitmaps, 32-bit TIFFs with an alpha. And obviously, depending on the size of the render, that's the longer it takes to do. Okay, we're just going past the boundaries of the OBJ, so it's going to quickly render out the background. You'll see it start to render from the center. It is dependent on your CPUs. I'm just using a quad core here. If you had a 6-core running with Windows Ultimate with lots of memory, you could hyper-thread it. It'd be running at 12 cores. So it rendered this in a third of the time of a quad core. I think I've got the math right there. Okay, you can see it coming through now. This wasn't at too high a resolution either. I have done images that have run through the night, but there it is. I'm sure you agree, it's quite effective. The more you play with it, the better the effect, obviously. Okay, I'll save all these renders out into the project files as well. And these scenes can be saved as a complete piece as well. And the interface is just so simplistic, it's a joy to use. Okay. It just automatically saves the renders into this folder as well. You can assign a direction or another folder, but I just keep everything in here. It's all to hand. Here we are. That wasn't a very high resolution. You can push the resolution through the roof as well. Obviously be prepared to wait for the render. Right. It's simplicity in itself. Once you've got a scene you like, you can save it in the BIP format within Keyshot, and it saves all the materials, everything. I will have a few of these files in the project as well. Just save it as crocodile scene. I think in the next video we'll just play with some more materials and show the different properties and some of the problems you might have trying to apply texture maps to certain materials.